I'm going to say something that might be a little controversial. Sound companies, it is not okay to send out a monitor engineer that cannot do this. If you can't identify this frequency without using an RTA, you are not prepared to be a professional audio engineer. Hear me out. I'm on tour with an artist right now that doesn't travel with a monitor engineer, and I'm blown away at how many people can't ring out wedges and don't even really have a grasp of what the graphic EQ is for. A lot of times people use the phrase ringing out the wedges wrong. The whole idea was you would make it feedback, which would cause that ringing sound, and then you would EQ it on the graphic EQ to knock out those frequencies that would cause a problem. You'd still get it loud without feedback. It's kind of like they all went to full fail. I guess it's kind of a lost art. A lot of artists now are using in-ears, and the need to ring out wedges is not as necessary. I think it'd be who of a lot of local sound companies to spend time practicing this with their crew just to make sure they still have it down. I learned how to mix monitors in an era before smartphones were prevalent and RTAs were around, and before people were really using in-ears all the time. Learned on PM5D on Claire 12 AM wedges. They sounded amazing, but extremely prone to feedback. You had to hack the EQ on them to keep them from fading back. Because of that, I had to get good at doing it by ear. I had to be able to do this quickly without looking at anything. If you couldn't do it, you were not able to do the job. The way I taught myself, I got an oscillator. There were a couple fundamental frequencies that always are prone to feedback that I could learn pretty easily. 1K, 6.3, and 8K. I used an oscillator to ingrain those frequencies into my head. When I did that, it became a lot easier to identify frequencies on either end of that were also causing problems. The main frequencies that cause feedback issues that I drove in my head: 250 Hz, 630 Hz, 800 Hz, 1K, 2.5, 3.6K, 6.3K, 8K, and 10K and above. You do that the right way, you hear the frequency, and you know what the problem is. There's no need to pull out an RTA. I can just go to a wedge and don't do the cup thing. That doesn't really emulate the shape of your mouth. You should go up and just open your mouth and change the shape of your mouth, and you'll hear those frequencies feedback. I can stand up there now and know that 630 Hz is a problem, 2.5 is a problem, that's 6.3, and just call out the frequencies without having to look at an RTA. This will also make you a really good front of house engineer too. Even if you have like a really good smart rig or an RTA in front of house, it doesn't really tell you anything if there's not a transient. It doesn't tell you anything about a specific sound. So if I'm trying to figure out what is not happening for me in the snare drum, I have to be able to identify what makes the snare drum sound good. You don't need to have perfect pitch to do that. I don't have perfect pitch. I just get close. I am probably within 100 Hertz to a couple hundred Hertz on the higher end frequency. You just need to know what ballpark it's in. There's certain frequencies that if you can get close, you can figure out where the issue is. You can make yourself a much better engineer that way. I'm not one of those guys that's anti-technology. I don't want to go back to old Midas XL3s and Monitor World. But there's an art that got lost, especially when people started using in-ears. And I think it'd behoove a lot of local sound companies to spend time practicing that, especially if you're not doing a ton of concert audio. You know, in the off-season, set up a wedge and spend a day making it feedback and EQing the monitor to make it sound good. So let me know in the comments what frequencies you think are issues, and let me know in the comments what frequency you think I was whistling in the beginning of this video. Like and subscribe for more. Rock on!